but no more about theoretical year numbers. Welcome to the stream. Happy Tuesday. We're 2 days into the week. Good job. Good job. I'm actually halfway through my work week. I randomly was like, I got Monday morning. I got as far as Monday morning, and then I was like, you know what? I should probably just. I don't think I have a full 5 days of work in me, within my body. So I was like, just messaged my boss and was like, hey, can I use some time off for Friday? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, thank you. It's that it's the one good thing I'm able to discipline myself with. I always have like a surplus of like paid time off that I need to use. That I always have to get to a certain limit or whatever, and I'm very good at spacing it so that, or not spacing, I guess I should say. If I can humble brag about myself, that like then I end up getting towards like the end of the year and I have to like use a bunch of it, because only a certain amount like rolls over. It's like the whole system here for pay time off. And then I get to like the last like 3 or 4 months of the year, and I've got like days and days and days and days. I just so random. I'll just take random days off, or I'll take like. I usually am good for like 1 or 2 like week and a half long like things. I guess you could call them vacations, right? But sometimes I just don't do much with it except not work, which is very nice. You know what I mean? So we are wrapping up chapter 6 stuff. In theory, this will not take super long. I think that's what they. That's what the leaves are telling me. I'm reading the leaves. I think someone in chat informed me of that. Yeah, on Saturday, that there's not a ton. I feel really bad. I think the archive went up today on YouTube, and I was like, man, could I have toughed it out and just did the rest of it? And then I was like, I can't stress enough. It was 3 hours, and it was a nice 3 hours and a fun 3 hours of reading. It was a 3 hours where my headache was just so bad. I was headache wise, pain wise, I was struggling those 3 hours. I gotta be 100% honest. So I don't think it'll be super long here. So I think if it goes, especially goes super short, if we just play like, I might like switch over to like an hour or two of Cyberpunk after that. So don't be surprised. But we have, before I load up, we have what, the staff room thing. I assume it's going to be a lot like the one we got in chapter 5, both in content and lengthwise, I would imagine. I think I said this back when we had the staff room in chapter 5. I think the cast review things, 1 through 4, were charming. In a sense, I kind of liked them, but I kind of like pacing wise and what they actually mean. I think the staff room, uh, little blurb, thing was at least a nice change of pace. At most, probably better in my opinion. A nicer read. It wasn't as long. The all cast review thing, again, was cute the way it was done. I kind of like that. I like how it's presented. They kind of dragged a bit. If I'm being honest, once it got to like 3 chapters 3 and 4, it was kind of like, it was basically all the kids being like, "Oh, I hope I'm the main character of the next chapter," and then it's like, "Do you know what's going on?" And they're like, "Ah, I think it's this," and it's just like, okay, well, we can. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. Again, I try to stay out of most of online opinions because I don't want to get spoiled by stuff. But so I'm always curious if like an innocuous opinion like that is in the plurality or minority opinions held by people. So yeah, we have the staff room. We have 2 alternate endings apparently that we'll get to, and then we have the last tip section. I think. Also, I think I've talked about this before, but uh, in most chapter cases, I would not watch the opening movie thing until after the chapter. I think there was 1 or 2 chapters where I didn't do that for whatever reason. But I think since we've now finished chapter 6, I might as well watch it here tonight. The first time I'm actually able. And the thing is, if you're like, oh no, it's gonna be a spoiler, just know that like my memory is really bad, and I don't just say that as a joke. Like, it's so bad. So if something's shown here that I probably shouldn't see, it's gonna be okay, I assume. We're gonna be alright. We'll be okay. Also, most stuff that if it's something that I don't know, it's like presented without context, you know? So without context, you're not gonna get spoiled a shit ton, in my opinion, with most stuff. Now that would have been pretty spoilery. That would have been a bit much. Big fan of the drumming. Big fan of the drumming beat. And animation. Yeah. I definitely probably wouldn't want to have seen that prior to reading this chapter. But I don't think there was massive spoilers there. There's like, what? Was there like one or two? It's kind of hard because, again, most chapters I've now seen the opening movies, I think. But again, I say I think because I don't have good memory. I'm going to forget everything I just watched by the time I lay my head on my bed tonight. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't worry if you're like, oh shit, he saw the fucking something or another. He saw the Schmeebeldorp. It's all ruined. It's spoiled. Chapter 7 and 8, you might as well not even read it anymore. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. But I think there's like, at worst, unless, again, it's presented mostly without a context, at worst, maybe I see like one or two characters. I'm like, who is this mystery character? With no context, I'm just like, okay. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I think we're fine. We're fine. Everything's great. Okay. So yeah, let's, oh god, I've been debating all day today in my head. Where should I start? Should I start with the potentially least interesting things and then ramp up from there? Probably, right? That probably makes for a worse viewing experience on your parts, but probably a funner experience on my part. And at the end of the day, whose situation is more important, you know? If I may sound so selfish for a second. Should we just do it the first? Let's load up the first. So here they are, the two save slots I created, on this page 2 of the decision things. Yeah, we'll just start with the first one we got, which made me laugh very hard. I hope nothing happens at all. And now I have to tell her, yeah, I guess. Now, I guess yeah, I think I gave it a lot of shit where I was like, oh, they're so like not clear. You know, if I didn't have these here, like, oh, how do I know? I guess you could probably say that since this is a bit non-committal and it's not as positive sounding as a message of it'll be all right, you could maybe argue that this is better. But let's see what happens. I guess. Let's go down this bad path, apparently. Tarika-chan, who had whispered that Wait, Tarika-chan, who had whispered that Keshi says, I'll just go see Mion for a bit. Comment here, I don't remember having this in the Steam version. That's neat. Just the choices in general, or the check mark and the X? This is a modded, this is technically the Steam version, but it is modded to be like the console versions. So yes. Generally, if you just buy this off Steam and don't mod it in, you're not gonna have those options. Some people would be quick to point out that they're not the most exciting or thrilling things or additions ever in the console versions. But since I already was doing the modding thing, I was like, well, I might as well throw them in and see what they are, just out of curiosity's sake, because I am a generally curious person. So let's see what the bad things are. I'm curious I'm curious if these bad endings are interesting. You know? That's what I'm here to see. So Keshi says, I'll just go see Mion for a bit. After taking my leave from them... So, we should probably place where this is. This is... this was a while back, so, God, talking about bad memory. But, we'll probably get some context here in a bit, but... After taking my leave from them, I left the classroom and head to the faculty office where Mion had gone to make a phone call. I tried reading the console stories that are the focus ones, but I couldn't get through more than an hour. Having a whole new cast of characters to learn wasn't worth the effort at the time. So you're talking about, yeah, probably whatever console arcs are. Well, if you decide to join me on the journey, we'll assumingly get to those at some point, probably later in the year here, once we finish the main 8 episodes and stuff. If because I plan on touching all the different actual console arcs and everything that's included. I've got copies of those as well, so we're gonna see it all. We're gonna see all the good and all the bad. Let's say it like that. Apparently there's some really bad console arc stuff, and I mines. I can't wait to step upon them, and we can all just experience the bad together. There was some truly last year with Umineko. There were also some really, for lack of a better term, strange arcs and little side stories as well that we did. So it would be a shame not to also experience the Higurashi ones as well, in my opinion. Alright, so after taking my leave from them, I left the classroom and headed to the faculty office where Mion had gone to make a phone call. It's not like I could do anything even if I stayed by her. I just hated staying still, doing nothing but wallow in anxiety. Okay. I'll send 2 of our subordinates to the clinic. I don't think she'll do it. Oh, so this must be, and what Kechi was saying with the girls there in the classroom, this is around the time where I think they were thinking about, the whole, I don't remember the exact specifics, but it was, them being, trying to find, I think trying to find Rina. She was spending a lot of time, I think, at the dump site in her little hideaway spot. I think she was technically considered like runaway at that point. So I think that's kind of the timeline section, if I'm remembering correctly, where this is placed at. Because then, yeah, the girls were asking Keshi, like, hey, is she gonna be okay? And then I think that's where you made the choice. Something like that. Mion, I don't think she'll do it, but you'll never know what's going to happen. Can we capture her by force if she does? Honestly, I don't want to do that. What do you think we should do? We made an agreement with the cops that we're going to give Rina Ryugu to them right after we find her. Okay, so you do know this happened right at, or at least after the scene we saw where it was the negotiations between the Sonozaki family and the police force. So there we go. That gives a good timeline of this. Because that's what was discussed then. So even if we use force to capture her, we won't get in trouble. I'm not worried about losing face. I just feel sorry for Rina. I really want to settle this calmly if possible. Well, she's still young. So as long as she didn't kill someone or something, all she has to do is apologize and everything will be fine. Well then, she might be out of our hands. Oh, I mean, you know, as long as they don't find out about it, she'll be safe. Safe. She'll definitely be safe. Okay, we definitely read this section, so this is retreaded ground. They're talking about here, like, oh, as long as they don't find out that she killed the people she did end up killing, right? That was like, I remember this sticking out. This definitely sticks out and rejogs my memory. This discussion between them. Nobody really cares about the disappearance of those two anyway. People think that they ran away somewhere because they did something wrong. Those things happen all the time. So she's fine. Don't worry about it. She's out, she's safe. What? Are we playing baseball now? Anyways, please just be careful. Will do. So, it's okay to capture her by force, right? Don't make any mistakes. You'll have to get her. Please don't make it like a chase scene or something or anything like that. Sorry, I had to fix something on my... I had to respond to a notification. My apologies. Okay, I couldn't help but have a silly chat with Kasai-san. When I put the phone down, I sensed Chie-sensei was looking at me. No wonder. I should have been able to hear the conversation clearly in this tiny room. Chie-sensei put her spoon down, and with a sad look on her face, she asked the following. Were you talking about Ryugu-san? Yes. Sonozaki-san, do you know why Ryugu-san ran away from home? You're close, aren't you? It was hard for anyone to understand Rina's situation except for me and Ki-chan. So, most of them thought that Rina just ran away from home. But after she did, the cops made too much of a fuss over it. Or she stupidly believed that the scrapbooks were a big scoop, and he overreacted in trying to find Rina. He had patrol cars running around everywhere in the village. He even used the town council's phone directory to find her. Clear my throat there. So, people in the village thought Rina did something wrong and was trying to run from the cops. What was going to be difficult for me, more than finding her, was to make a story to retrieve Rina's honor after they detain her. What about this? Rina went for a walk, fell down and hit her head on the edge of some tofu and lost her memory. Oishi misunderstood something big time and he thought she was a criminal. It was too easy. Anyway, we did make it clear that Oishi was the one who misunderstood everything at the meeting the other day. I had to make the best use of his name while he was feeling down for once. What I would have to do was to not make a big deal about the situation, and to create an environment that allowed Rina to forget everything that happened in order to get her life back together as soon as possible. Everything is going to be fine, Chie-sensei. Rina's a little sick right now, that's all. A fat cop somehow made a lovely mistake and got things twisted around. You don't believe that Rina did something wrong and that she's trying to run from the police, do you? Of course not. But making her family worry about running away from home isn't a good thing to do either. She had a fight with her father and she ran away from home for a little while. She acted childish, that's all. Maybe that'd be the best story to go with. I wonder if she had some problems she couldn't talk to anyone about. I must be a bad teacher because I never realized it. I wish I could have sat down and talked with Ryu-san before all this happened. Chie-sensei, you're taking it too seriously. You need to relax. It's normal for young kids nowadays to run away from home for a while. Oh no! What am I gonna do if Ryuga-san becomes one of those bad kids and starts doing really bad things? Oh. I also remember this. Okay, so there's a bit of obviously retread from what we've previously experienced and read, but going back to me saying my bad memory stuff, I don't want to potentially miss a line or a little scene or something that is, like, I could just potentially just fast forward here until I recognize something, but I can't trust my own memory for that. So while we might save a little time if I was to just like completely just skip until I notice something different, I'd rather just be on the safer side and just experience this all again. So if you're like, oh, Austin, we already read this, learn patience. That's all I'll say. Chill and learn patience. Become Zen. Ryu-san becomes a bad kid. She does something bad and gets arrested by the police. It's her teacher's responsibility. I'll be dishonorably discharged. I can't eat curry anymore. I'm dead. That was a good moment. Plus, we get to re-experience. We get to re-experience these moments. Wouldn't want to miss that for the world. Oh no. Oh no. Chie-sensei seemed comically upset by her own imagination. It looked funny, so I decided to leave her alone. I made to leave the teacher's office to go back to the classroom, but right then, phone rang. Hello? This is the Hinamazawa Branch School. Chie-sensei had to answer the phone all day today because the principal was on a business trip. I exited to the hallway. Then, I heard the tone of her voice change. What? Where are you right now? What? I yelled and looked back at her. It was probably Rina. She called the school. I tried to go back inside the teacher's office, but Chie-sensei gestured at me not to come in. Chie-sensei acknowledged what Rina was saying several times, and then she looked up at the clock. Okay. I'll be there. I'm your teacher. You promised me, alright? She said only that, but put the phone down and got her purse out of her locker. Class president. I have an emergency to take care of.
しばらく表へ出ますので、みんなを自習させてください。
I'm going for a while, so please have everybody study by themselves while I'm gone. Oh, this is where she gets the old okey doke. Oh, I didn't even do a recap of the finale. Although I think I skipped because forgot because not saying it's not important what we experienced in the finale, but it was the finale, so you just have to see that thing. But basically, high energy, 3 hours last Saturday. It was kind of like I said, the foreshadowing came to truth. They Kechi and Rina did a big old friend fight, is what I would dub it, on the roof of the school, with the moon lighting them as a backdrop. I think the most important thing to probably get from it, and probably to set us on the path to what's going to potentially happen, or what the mood, for lack of a better term, is going to be in chapter 7 and 8, is that the whole realization and what ended up happening, and the important thing to take from the finale of chapter 6, seemingly, is going to be that Rina realized her mistakes before what the game would call, or what the characters were calling, committing a sin. She realized she was in the wrong before actually murdering anyone, or actually going down a bad path. It didn't take Rina another, for lack of a better term again, timeline jump, or what would I want to call it? Another repeat of the timeline to realize she made a mistake in a previous one in chapter 6, like Kechi realized. So we saw in this chapter that Kechi was like, hey, for some reason I can remember me making a mistake, obviously murdering Rina and Mion at some point in a previous, like, a universe or timeline I keep calling, right? That was his big realization in chapter 6. Obviously, there's the whole Rika aspect where she realizes that he realized it, and she's like, oh, that's pretty important. He's like, what is this I'm coming to conclusions about? Whatever. So his whole thing was he realized he made a mistake previously in an earlier chapter that we witnessed, and he was hoping that Rina would do the same. He was driven to get Rina to realize that she's about to make a mistake before she made the mistake or committed the sin. And the big thing that happened then there at the end of chapter 8, of this chapter, of chapter 6, which we ended up seeing, is that, and he says it out loud, basically, I think to her or to us as the reader or whatever, that amazingly, Rina, through sheer, what you could say, determination on Kechi's part, was able to get Rina to realize the mistake she was making, and basically get out of that conspiracy hole that she was seemingly too far in on. And so I guess I didn't, because we made a quick exit on Saturday, or I made a quick exit. I would assume that that's going to then dictate chapters 7 and 8 for us. Again, you would think chapter 8, final chapter, it's got to be somehow, whatever the best outcome is of this place and all the characters involved would hopefully get close to happening. That's probably the ultimate goal, right? But do we know the ultimate goal? Is the ultimate goal just to prevent whatever the tragedy is? And how would the characters accomplish that? So there's a lot of things there. But you would imagine chapters 8, if we get a super satisfying ending, right, is going to go somewhere along that route. And so you got to think, what does chapter 7 do? And how would chapter 7 set up chapter 8? My best bet then, and what I hope, because I was thinking about this since Saturday's stream, is that I would hope that 7 is a primarily focused Rika chapter. And not only just Rika, but like the for way lack of a better term, meta Rika focused character focused chapter. I want Rika as what we now know. She's seemingly aware of everything that's happening on, a outside level, and I think that would be not only interesting to see, but also then set us up for answering a lot of questions, of what's happening in these previous chapters, if we have any lingering questions, and then, like I said, also set us up for what we should expect in Chapter 8. That would be my thought. Or we go back to my earlier idea. Let's have a Mion and Shion's mom focused chapter, just because I also think that would be interesting. All right. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. I'm getting sidetracked. She took her car key out from her purse. It was obvious that she was going to see Rina somewhere.
Sensei, 今の電話はレナ。
Chie Sensei, was it Rina?
以上です。
That's all.
よろしく頼みますよ、委員長。
You're in charge of the class, okay? Also, I talked so much shit about Chie, but like, this is such a unforced error. Not only does she get, like I said, okey-doked by fucking Rina here, but she like I'm trying to think, would it be a better situation if she had just told Mion, like, hey, what did Rina tell you? I don't know. Chie just not great. Not a great performance by her. She gets outplayed severely. Chie Sensei completely ignored me and she ran out into the hallway. She ran to the schoolyard and got into her car.
Kei-chan!
Ki-chan!
どうした
What is it?
シエ先生慌ててどこに行ったんだ
Where did Chie Sensei go in such a hurry?
レナから電話があった。
There was a phone call from Rina.
え、なんて
What? What did she say? I ran after the teacher without answering that. Ki-chan followed behind me. She ran into the schoolyard and got into her car. The moment her car left through the gate, I ran out of the schoolyard myself. I headed for the black car parked near the gate and knocked on the window.
お疲れ様です。
How are you doing, milady?
今のところ異常ありません。
Everything is quiet so far.
あー、違う。
I know.
今出て行った先生の車を追って。
But I need you to follow that car that just left.
多分、行く先にレナがいる。
I think she's going to meet Rina.
何
What? Getchi yelled in surprise, but there wasn't any time left to explain it to him now.
レナは警戒心が強いから注意してね。
Rina's very paranoid, so you need to be careful.
捕まえたら有無を言わさずに本家放り込んで、葛西の指示に従うこと。
Bring her to my house right after you catch her. After that, follow Kasai's orders.
私の友人だよ。
She's my friend.
怪我なんかさせたら許さないからね。
You better not get her hurt. Rina must have told Chie Sensei that she wanted to talk to her alone. I could tell that easily from the way she ignored my question. I did feel a little bad for ruining their promise, but it's very important that we caught her before she did something wrong. We could still make up an excuse that she was just wandering around because she had a fight with her father and ran away from home. But if she set fire to the clinic or something, there would be nothing I could do.
ミオ俺も行く
Mion, I'm coming too.
ケイちゃん。
Ki-chan,
先生がレナのいる場所に向かったんなら俺も一緒の方がいいはずだ
if the teacher's going to see Rina, it's better if I go.
頼む
Please.
そうだね。確かに。
You're probably right.
じゃあケイちゃん、早く乗って。
Okay then, Ki-chan, get on quick.
わかった
Gotcha. Ki-chan opened the car door and swiftly climbed into the passenger seat. While we were dilly-dallying, the teacher's cars began to disappear from our line of sight. Okay, so I think now we're seeing the clear difference in the thing. Kechi getting into the car and chasing after Rina where she's not at. I think. Seemingly that's what's happening. We can only pray we didn't lose sight of her.
よろしく頼んだよ、ケイちゃん。
I'm counting on you, Ki-chan.
ああ任せとけ
Yeah, leave it to me. The car made a rough U-turn on the gravel road and chased after Chie Sensei's car at full speed. As I tailed the shadow of the disappearing car, I could only pray for the series of misfortune to end on a quiet note. Chie Sensei's car soon came into view. It was traveling at a very fast pace, but thankfully, she was the sort of person who didn't drive above the speed limit. We passed this. Oh, so do we get to see them not find Rina? We get to follow the fuck up teacher. We passed the stone steps of the Friday Shrine and left the paved road partway into a coarse mountain trail. Where we were headed wasn't even to the damn construction site where the mountains of trash lay. We were headed to an unknown location which I wasn't aware of, as I was still unfamiliar with the area.
この道って どこに続いてます？
Where's this pathway headed to?
山の方っすね。
Most likely into the mountains.
このまま行くと谷をまたいだ隣の町へのルートになるっす。
If we carry on like this, we'll reach a route that leads to a neighborhood across the valley. And as if not in agreement, with the driver's words, the vegetation around us opened up on one side, and we saw mountains in the distance and a valley between them. I saw a stream up ahead and a suspension bridge straddling it. According to him, there was certainly an unmanned office cabin in the vicinity set up for emergency purposes. Oh, I'm struggling reading it. Judging by Chie-sensei's panic, had Rina threatened to jump off from there or something if she didn't come? If so, then why exactly? That's right. Just why had she called Chie-sensei out to the suspension bridge? The sudden question triggered a throbbing anxiety which spread across my chest. First of all, what did Rina even have to do with Chie-sensei? I mean, it's not like they were on bad terms. Rina was a good student, so she had a good relationship with her teacher. But it's not like she had a trusting relationship with her, enough to call her and consult her on such affairs. And also, why the suspension bridge? If it was a threat to jump off if she didn't come, the shrine had a good enough elevation for that. She didn't have to call her all the way out here. Fuck! I was astonished, finally having understood Rina's intentions.
運転手さん、千恵先生の車を止めてくれ。
Driver, please stop Chie-sensei's car.
え？
Eh? Eh?
早く。
Hurry! Hurry! As I noisily rang the car horn, Chie-sensei's car came to a halt, almost close enough to hit us, and she got down looking stunned. And after recognizing me in the passenger seat of the car behind her, she tried to yell out, but I beat her to it and cried, "We're in big trouble!" What?
先生、俺たちレナに騙されたんだ。
Sensei, we've been duped by Rina.
レナはここにはいない。
Rina isn't here. Huh? The teacher didn't understand what I was talking about and donned a confused expression. But there wasn't even any time to explain it to her, so I flew towards the phone booth near us, put a 10-yen coin in the slot, and dialed the phone number to the staff room which I vaguely recalled. Please, somebody answer. Mion, Satoko, Rika-chan. I don't care if it's somebody else either. I had to tell this to the people at school fast. So, hurry! Hurry up and pick up the phone! And then, after the phone had rang around 10 times, and I had almost given up, call went through.
もしもし。
Hello?
すみません。俺、前原です。
Excuse me, this is Maibara.
すぐに園崎美音に繋いでください。
Please put Mion Sonozaki on the line right away. Is it gonna be Rina?
もしもし。
Hello?
聞こえてるのか？もしもし。
Can you hear me? Hello? I didn't know if it was because I was using an old phone or because the line was too far away, but I couldn't hear anything from the receiver. And then, when I was about to raise my voice and yell into the phone, this is like the tactic I use. Okay, occasionally, depending on if I'm busy or not, you know, like you get the spam phone number calls. Sometimes I just won't say anything. I'll just answer it, and then it's either complete silence or I'll just continue on with my whatever I was doing. So there might be some background noise, but then the spam phone caller is like, "Hello, hello, are you there? Hello?" And then my favorite is just the dead silence. I'll just look at the phone, just stare at the phone, stare into their souls through the phone. What is it, Keiichi-kun? It's terrifying. I wonder what you want with Mi-chan. I wonder. My prediction was on the mark. It was even worse than I'd imagined.
レナ。
Reina,
そこにいるんだな。
you're over there now, aren't you? Yep,
いるよ。
I'm here.
みーちゃんたちも一緒にね。
With Mi-chan and the others.
圭一くんがいないのが残念だよ。
It's a shame you aren't here, Keiichi-kun.
一人じゃなかなかやりづらくって。
It's pretty hard to do this by myself.
うるさく騒いだり泣いたりして頭にきたから。
何度か殴っちゃった。
They made a lot of noise, screaming and crying, and it really got to my head, so I ended up hitting them a few times.
なんてこと。
What the hell have you done?
おいレナ。
Hey, Rina.
いいか、ここにはチエ先生もいる。
Listen, Chie-sensei's here with me too.
だから落ち着いて俺の話を。
So calm down and listen to what I...
圭一君はそっちに行っちゃったのか。
Ah, so you ended up going there, huh?
だったらお話はこっちで聞くね。
Then I'll listen to what you have to say here, okay?
早く来てね。待ってるから。
Come quick. I'll be waiting for you.
おいレナ。
Wait, Rina.
待て、切るな。
Stop! Don't hang up! Those words fell on dead ears. Rina, who was on the other side, swiftly ended the conversation like it was nothing. Damn, they even have a little break in the during the bad ending thing? They mean serious business with this bad ending. Okinomiya PS to all vehicles. Okinomiya PS to all vehicles. A hostage situation has broken out at the Hinamizawa Forestry Service building. There are reportedly multiple hostages. All vehicles are to head to the Forestry Service building immediately. Do we just get to see Rina like go ham on the hostages? Do we get to see Oishi just run into the school? Try to do his best action hero attempt? Kuma-chan! Sorry I'm late. What's going on?
ご苦労様っす。
Hello, sir.
本日午後1時頃、ひなみ沢営林署内のひなみ沢分校区画にて教室占拠が発生しました。
Today around 1 p.m., the Hinamizawa Branch School's classroom was taken over.
犯人側の第一要求は、営林署敷地内への一切の立ち入りの禁止と、当保へのホットラインの確保です。
The suspect's initial demands were to prohibit all entry to the branch school's property and to secure a hotline to us.
ってことは、初めから警察と交渉する気ってことですか。
So they're willing to negotiate with us from the start?
どういうつもりだ。
What's going on?
あと犯人は交渉人に大石さんを指名してます。
Also, the suspect is asking for you, Oishi-san.
犯人は竜宮玲奈。
It's Rina Ryugu.
竜宮さんが
Ryugu-san.
わかりました。
Very well.
いいですよ。こうなりゃ腐れんです。
We seem to be inseparable, huh?
とことんお付き合いさせてもらいましょう。
I'll be dealing with her until the end. Oishi gave a crooked smile.
竜宮玲奈以外に犯人がいるか不明です。
We don't know if she has any accomplices.
カーテンが閉められているので、状況も一切確認できていません。
Curtains are closed, so we can't confirm the situation.
通報者に選挙時の様子は聞いてませんか。
Have you asked whoever told us about this?
いえ、竜宮玲奈からの直接の犯行声明でした。
No. Rina Ryugu declared it herself.
よって内部の状況は一切不明。
Therefore, we don't know what's going on inside.
担任と生徒の1名は犯行直前に竜宮玲奈の電話呼び出しを受け、遠方に呼び出された間の犯行でした。
Right before the crime, the teacher in charge and one of the students had received a phone call from Rina Ryugu, and the crime took place while they were away.
計画的ですね。
This has been well planned, huh?
営林署側の人間は人質には
Has anyone from the forestry service been taken hostage?
今日は営林署職員は不在でした。
Nobody from the service was there today.
よって生徒24名のみ。
All 24 hostages are students.
生徒数は担任が出席簿で確認した人数です。
That number matches with the attendance the teacher took this morning.
それプラス犯人ってわけか。
Plus the suspect, right?
竜宮玲奈以外に犯人らしき人影は
Have you seen anyone else suspicious other than Rina Ryugu?
いえ、何度かカーテンから覗く人影がありましたが、いずれも竜宮玲奈本人でした。
No. We've seen someone peeking out from behind the curtain, but it was a suspect herself.
ですが規模他を考えて、おそらく最低でももう一人二人はいると予想されます。
We're guessing there must be at least one or two more of them, though.
レナちゃんはとても真面目ないい子なんです。
Irina-chan is a good girl.
こんなことをするなんて何かの間違いに決まっています。
For her to do something like this, there must be some mistake. Oh.
大丈夫ですか？
Are you okay? Oishi ran up to Chie-sensei, who was crying with a handkerchief held up to her face. Chie-sensei was huddled over, and Oishi didn't think he could say anything else to her.
大石殿、よろ
Mr.
しくお頼みしますぞ。
Mr. Oishi, please.
もしできるなら、人質の交換を申し出たい。
If possible, I would like to request to be a hostage myself.
ぜひ私と子供たちを交換していただきたい。
I will take the place of the children.
校長先生、それは私がやります。
Let me do that instead.
私が悪いんです。
It's all my fault.
先生方、どうかご自分を責められないでください。
Please, don't blame yourself.
先生方には校内の状況についていろいろとお聞きしたいことがありますので、ご協力をお願いいたします。
I have things I want to ask you, so I'd appreciate it if you cooperated.
ボンチ君、
Bonchi-kun,
図面の方で話を聞いてあげてください。
please show them the blueprints.
失礼します。
Excuse me, sir?
1号車の無線に高杉課長です。
Section Chief Takasugi is on the radio.
はいはい、もしもし。
Hello,
Oishi
this is Oishi. Oishi-san, how goes things? Kumagai-kun informed me of the situation. Suspect is underage, huh? Please keep strict control of the press.
分かってます。
I understand.
あと、犯人側が私を交渉人に指定してきているようですが、問題ありませんかね。
Also, the suspect is requesting me as a negotiator. Is that okay with you? For now, if that's the suspect's demand, we have no choice. It's up to you.
おいさん、
Oishi-san,
車載電話に犯人です。竜宮玲奈です。
Reina Rigu's on the car phone.
早速ご指名の電話が来ました。
That was faster than expected.
早速出ることにします。
I'll go get it.
ありがとう。
Thank you.
はい。もしもし。
Hello,
大石です。
this is Oishi. I clenched my teeth in frustration and rolled up my fists into a ball. An overwhelming wall of police officers blocked my way, and I felt pathetic for only being able to watch the teachers and the detectives from afar. The reason behind why Chie-sensei had been phoned and summoned out of the school. For Rina, who wanted to hijack the classroom, the biggest obstacle was Chie-sensei. She was someone who had a strong sense of justice. Even if Rina had held a pistol to her, Chie-sensei probably wouldn't have hesitated. For the welfare of her students, she would put herself in danger. Getting rid of someone like her was the primary step in order to hijack the classroom. Attacking her from behind would have been her very first line of thought, but I'm sure she decided taking on an adult directly was a risky affair. In that case, it was better to lure her away to someplace. Rina then phoned Chie-sensei, and then told her she wished to seek her advice in someplace private, and asked to meet her near the suspension bridge. Including Chie-sensei, a good majority of the people thought that Rina had merely run away from home. So Chie-sensei probably thought Rina merely had some troubles she wished to discuss. Fooling her was that easy. So, where did Rina make the call from? Yes, it was from within the school. Well, not exactly. It was most likely from the second floor of the school building, from the office room of the forestry service. The forestry service at our school was more like a branch office, so it wasn't like the staff were always present. Depending on the day, they might not even be there. Rina had known this, and had been hiding on the second floor all this time. And then, she had made a call to the ground floor from up there, and sent Chie-sensei to a faraway place. If only they had caller ID, they'd be able to know this call was coming from within the building, you know? Damn technology diff. It probably wasn't a coincidence that the principal had been away on a business trip today. Rina had most likely snuck into the school yesterday itself. And then, she had discerned the police's itinerary, or principal's itinerary, and the workings of the eternal phone line before she put her plan into action. How cunning it all was. No, I understood. Right now, even as she was possessed by a murderous rage, Rena was keeping her composure. She was unbelievably calm despite being plagued by her delusion that controlled her. And so, just thinking about it made my head spin, because I had even personally experienced what she was going through before. Also, what was even more unlucky was the absence of the Sonozaki family bodyguard who had been standing by the gate. It was because Mion had sent him to follow Chie-sensei who had set out to meet Rina. Fuck, everything was so screwed up on so many levels.
今ですね、県警の暴隊と公安部で一斉捜査作戦を準備中なんです。
We're trying to come up with a plan for simultaneous raids as we speak. Talking to the prefectural police as well as the public safety division.
何しろ市内全域を一斉にやりますからね。調整に多少の時間が。
We're talking about the entire city, so we need a little more time to prepare for it.
遅すぎる。
You're taking too long!
大石さん、私たちは今、獅子骨氏が置かれている緊急的危機について、よく理解し合っているんじゃなかったでしたっけ？
Oishi-san, don't you realize what kind of emergency situation Shishibone City is in right now?
何をのんびりとしたこと。
What are you doing?
大石さん、
Yeah,
本当に
yell at him.
私の
Yell at
話
him.
を信じてくれているんですよね。
Oishi-san, you do believe me, don't you?
私の味方なんですよね。
You're my ally, right?
味方ですよね。
Right?
答えてください。
Please answer me!
もちろんですとも。
Of course I am.
ですが、警察組織ってやつは簡単じゃないんです。
But the police department is a little more complicated than you think.
私も最大限努力をしてるんですよ。本当です。
I'm doing my best, I really am.
ただですね、やはり話の規模があまりに大きすぎるもので。
The thing is, this is on a really big scale. Negotiations weren't that satisfactory, to be honest. Even as I spoke, it was clear from the overwhelming tension that Rina's patience was wearing thinner and thinner.
じゃあ、圭一君を呼んで。
Okay, call Kechi-kun over here.
は？
What?
今何とおっしゃいました？
Could you say that again?
そっちにいるんでしょ、圭一君。
Isn't Kechi-kun there right now?
彼と話をするから、早く呼び出して。
I'd like to talk to him now, so please call him over immediately.
わかりました。
I understand. Oishi asked one of his subordinates to summon the boy who stood in the front line of the crowd gathered at the barricade. He immediately jogged over to the car as soon as he was called.
前原圭一さんですね。
You must be Kechi Maibara, I assume.
はい。
Yes.
竜宮レナさんがあなたと話がしたいそうです。
Miss Rina Ryuku would like to have a word with you.
通話変わってもらえますか？
Could you please take the call?
わかりました。
I understood, or I understand. Oishi then handed over the receiver to Kechi, and he noticed something happening outside and left the car.
もしもし。
Hello?
圭一君、
Kechi-kun?
よかった。戻ってきてくれたんだね。
It's good that you came back here.
レナ。
Reina,
警察がね、レナの言うことを信じてくれないの。
the police isn't believing what I'm telling them.
レナの言ってることが本当で、レナがやろうとしてることが本気だって、圭一君からも言ってくれないかな。
Could you please tell them that the things I'm saying are true? That I'm very serious about what I'm about to do. Could you?
やろうとしてることってなんだよ。
What do you mean by what I'm about to do?
今この教室にね、ガソリンをまいたの。
I've just finished pouring gasoline all over this classroom.
だからレナが持ってるライターでちょっと火をつければ、ここにいる人質はみんな死んじゃう。
So, if I just ignite the lighter I have on hand, all the hostages here will die.
それを大石さんに教えてくれないかな。
Could you please let Oishi-san know about that? What?
なんですかあんたたちは。
Who are you people?
どきたまえ。
Move over.
ここの責任者は誰だね。
Who's in charge here? Several cars had arrived, producing several men. They weren't from the Okinomiya station. One of the men was wearing a suit, despite the hot weather. He approached me, pushing Kumagai aside.
おや、これは。
Hey, look who's here.
お久しぶりですね。県警本部の大高くんじゃありませんか。
Good to see you again, Utaka-kun from the prefectural headquarters.
言葉を慎みたまえ。
Watch your mouth.
もう君に君と呼ばれる階級ではない。
I'm ranked much higher than you now, so don't address me so casually.
何かご用ですかね、大高くん。
I love. We didn't talk about him much during the official or the reading of the main chapter 6, but I do love how much of a fool Oishi gets exposed to be, and how many people talk down to him or yell at him. It's quite satisfying. everyone just bombards against him. Can I help you with something, Utaka-kun?
今非常に立て込んでいます。
I'm rather busy at the moment.
まさか県警がこの現場を乗っ取ろうつもりで？
You can't possibly be thinking about taking over this case.
誰の了解で？
Who approved that exactly?
私が許可した、大石君。
I did, Oishi-kun.
社長。
Chief!
高杉君から事情は聞いている。
Takasugi-kun has informed me of the situation.
君がまいた種だという話も聞いているぞ。
He also told me that you started all this.
君はもう下がって、あとは機動隊に任せるんだ。
You can go now. The troops will take over.
機動隊って。大高くん、あんたまさか吸収する気ですか？
The troops? Otaka-kun, you aren't going to storm the building, are you?
危険は重々承知だ。
I understand the risk,
だがもう爆発まで時間がない。
but we don't have any time left before the bomb goes off.
君が時間を浪費しすぎたのだ。
You've taken too long.
その尻拭いを我々がしようというんだ。
We're here to take care of the mess you left behind.
君らは引き継いで後方に下がりたまえ。
Just step back for a minute. I couldn't talk back if both the chief and a guy from the prefectural headquarters gave me an order.
おいさん、何者っすかあいつは。
Oishi-san, who the heck is he?
大高くん。
That's Utaka-kun.
昔、麻雀がくっそ弱いくせに生きがってたから、ちょいと叩き潰してやったことがありましてね。
No. A long time ago he was showing off even though he was bad at mahjong, so I taught him a lesson.
それともあれかな、剣道大会で偉そうにしてやがったから、面食らわして失神させたのを根に持ってるのかな。
Or maybe he's still holding a grudge from when I knocked him unconscious in that kendo tournament. Obviously, we didn't get along.
大石君、現在の最新の状況を説明したまえ。
Give me the latest update, Oishi-kun.
あんた、本気で突入する気で？
Are you serious about storming the school?
突入は府警の専門部隊が担当する。
A special unit from the prefectural police department will handle the infiltration.
君はバックアップに回りたまえ。
Your unit will be their backup.
社長。
Chief.
大石君、
Oishi-kun.
府警の専門部隊はただの機動隊じゃないぞ。
The special unit from the prefectural police department isn't just any old unit.
第二機動隊といえば、君ほどの男なら噂くらい聞いてるだろう。
You've heard about the second company, haven't you?
なんすかおいさん。
What's that, Oishi-san?
第二機動隊って有名なんですか？
Is this second company that well known?
5年くらい前だっけ、空港の飛行機に犯人が立てこもった事件があったでしょう。
Do you remember about 5 years ago when the JRA hijacked that plane? Flight 472?
あれをきっかけに東京と大阪にハイジャック専門の特殊部隊が組織されたって噂は聞いてましたがね。
I've heard that special counter-terrorist units were put together in Tokyo and Osaka after that incident.
実在してましたか。
So they really do exist.
でも、なんだって府警の機動隊がこんなところに。
But why would a special unit from Osaka be here? Taka smiled proudly.
たまたま県警機動隊との交流訓練があってね。
We just happen to be holding a training session with your prefectural police unit.
特別に応援を要請したのだよ。
We requested their help.
相変わらずですね。
You haven't changed, have you?
話をすぐ派手にしたがるその癖は。
You have a bad tendency to escalate matters quickly. The company members exited the vehicles one after another and took position. They didn't move like policemen.
大高君、
Otaka-kun,
あんた学校で銃撃戦をやる気かい？
are you really going to have a gunfight here?
安心したまえ。
Don't worry,
突入班が使うのは火器じゃない。
they won't use firearms.
ボート鎮圧用のガス銃だ。
They're using riot shields and riot guns.
高圧ガスで催涙ガスを噴出する。
Those guns send out tear gas at high pressures.
何の問題もない。
There will be no issue with explosions.
へえ、そりゃ便利な水鉄砲があったもんで。
Wow, I've never heard of such convenient water guns.
ところでそのおもちゃは校庭を横断して教室まで届くほど便利なものなんで。
By the way, can that toy reach the classroom from across the schoolyard?
それは君が心配することではない。
You don't need to worry about that.
あとは我々に任せて下がりたまえ。
You just move over and let us do our job. And then, following Otaka's orders, the special forces took positions at a blind spot visible from the school window and prepared to infiltrate. Oishi wrinkled his nose at Utaka's arrogance and pretentious attitude that didn't give way for counter-arguments. Remembering that Rina and Kechi were having a conversation, he turned on his heel, heading over to the patrol car. And there...
大変だ刑事さん
Detective, we have an emergency! At once, the door of the car swung open, and Kechi rushed over to him screaming.
どうしました前原さん？
What's the matter, Maibara-san?
レナが教室内にガソリンを撒いたって
Rina just told me she poured gasoline all over the classroom.
No.
What? Gasoline? I didn't hear that there was something so inflammable in the vicinity. No, it's not about that right now.
射撃を。
Preparing to shoot. Steady. Oh God.
待って
Oh
くださ
God.
い。
Please wait.
やめろ。撃つな。
Stop. Don't shoot. Fire. Oh my God. Holy shit. Oh my God. Oh no. Our bodies were promptly blown away and hit the ground. Didn't understand what had happened for a moment. Jesus. A high-pitched tinnitus violently reverberated within my skull, and an overwhelming dizziness distanced me from my consciousness. My throat and nasal passage felt irritated from the suspended dust particles and smoldered air. Spitting out the crunchy debris from my mouth, I dragged my beaten body up into a stance and faced forward, looking ahead of me. Damn. They just lit the bomb. There were many police officers scattered about on the ground, groaning from the impact. A voice of agony filled the air next to me. As I faced it, it turned out to be the detective I'd been talking to just now. His entire body was covered in dirt and debris, and he was bleeding from his head. As I began to sit down in concern for him, I suddenly remembered Mion and Rina's safety. Oh. And then I turned towards the direction of the school. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. What stood before me was a disordered conglomerate of wood, bricks, and other distorted articles mixed in, crudely resembling an enormous camping bonfire. The flames had risen up in between that mass burned so high, they seemed to reach up into the evening twilight. Even from this faraway distance, I could perceive the heat and the scorching smell. No, this had to be a dream. This couldn't be our school. No, this wasn't even a school in the first place. I staggered over. Fumbling forward with my useless legs, I walked over to that monstrosity. And then before me, amidst the crumbled remains of timber, I discovered a face I recognized and drew a breath before I rushed over. Mion! Mion's eyes were wide open, facing my way, with her right arm raised. Her mouth was slightly open. She probably couldn't speak. Thank God, Mion! I had to get her out of here first. Thinking that, I tightly grasped that right arm. It felt light. There was no resistance. Oh no. And then, from within the rubble, it came out. Oh! Oh. Ah! And then a small mass rolled over and touched my feet. Mion's head had come apart from her body. Jesus. They really were like, hey, you pick a bad option? Beheaded Mion. That's your punishment. Suffer. Jesus. Yeah, bad end, to put it lightly. Oh my god. Brutal, dude. Brutal, dude. All right, we have another bad ending to see. Don't worry. I turned in Satoko's direction. Satoko, are you still there? There's no time. Or, well, Satoko, you should be able to figure out. Okay, so the two options here are, hey, Satoko, hurry the fuck up. Or, Satoko, I have full faith in you. Figure the fuck out. So let's choose bad. There's no time. There still wasn't any reply from Satoko. Shit. We don't find out where... Oh, this was during the having to basically disarm the bomb, right? Or disarm the kitchen timer, basically trigger. Where he was given the task to Satoko, like, hey, can you figure out where the kitchen timer thing is, and all that. So she was doing that while basically, it was Rika and Kechi were directly in conflict with Rina probably at this point, I think. Or maybe right before that happens. Something along those lines. Shit. If we don't find out where Rina's hidden the incendiary device quickly, we've managed to confine her to the space, but finding the device is what's really important. Please, Satoko, you're the only one we're counting on. Awesome. Awesome. It's not like we're having club activities or anything, you know? Laugh, 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 laugh. Reina, who had thrown Rika-chan aside, swung around to face me as she stood up, her eyes glittering with fury. And then, with an icy jeer enough to make my hair stand on their ends, she raised her hatchet above her head. Oh god. Hiya! I'll smash her head in with a single strike! Shit. Adrenaline gushing through my veins, I twisted my body to barely dodge Rina's attack as the hatchet sliced through the air. Hatchet she had swung recklessly sunk into the wooden floor with a thunderous roar, and Rina retracted it as if it was nothing and held it up once more as she sniggered? That's definitely a word. Flashing her red tongue in mirth. Wait, what is this?
Sayonara, Keiichi-kun.
Oh! Wait, goodbye, Keiichi-kun.
って何? 謝ってもいいよ。
You're free to apologize to me when you have the chance. Fuck. I wasn't supposed to be wasting my time doing this. If I don't hurry up, the explosive device Rina set up is going to... Oh no, the bomb's gonna go off by the kitchen. Oh, Kechi-san, we don't have time! And then, it was immediately after Satoko's desperate scream. No! The bad endings are the bombs going off one way or the other. Jesus, anything and everything in the world before me disappeared into the void. Damn, including myself. Brutal. That's all I can say. Brutal. Oh my God. Fuck, dude. That one was a lot quicker. That one got right to the point. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay. Well, now what? The tip? Got the tip? Is it an extra? Tips? Tips? The tips. Is it this? Last night? Takeout? The demon script? Pleasant weather? I think it would have been that's the last one in line. To me, that just makes sense. Alright, let's see what this final tip has for us. The car began to rattle as the road turned from asphalt to gravel. The cry of cicadas seeped through the tightly shut windows. Most people would open their car windows and let the natural air in along with the sounds of the cicadas. But people are also spoiled. He'd rather keep himself cool with the air conditioning turned to max than listen to the sounds of nature. Usually it was the rainy season at this time of the year. But this June, summer had already come without any rain. Just like how the weather was on that day 20 years ago.
ここはやっぱり空気のいいところだよな。
The air around this area is just as clear as I remember it.
ええ。
Yeah.
風光明媚ないい土地です。ひょっとしたら隣の村みたいに世界文化遺産に指定されることもあったかもしれないのに惜しいですね。
The winds are cool and the sunshine is bright. This place could have become a world heritage site like the village in Gifu. What a waste.
そのおかげで観光客がいない。実に快適じゃないか。どうして旅行者ってのは田舎じゃ交通法規を忘れられるんだ。道路いっぱいに横になりやがって。
But thanks to that, there are no irritating tourists around here. See? It makes it much better. Why do tourists forget about pedestrian traffic laws when they're in rural areas? They walk in the middle of the road, you know?
赤坂先輩はアウトドア今も
Kasuka senpai, do you still do stuff outdoors?
最近はさっぱりだな。何しろ暇のない家業だからな。
Not as much as I used to. My job doesn't give me much free time.
それはお互い様です。
Oh.
おーいたいた。あやな。
Ah, same here. Oh, hey, there he is. The other man noticed and waved his hand before anyone in the car could honk the horn. The man was a young fellow on a motorcycle with a big backpack on his shoulders. He looked like he was ready to go camping. Kasuka and his partner stepped out of the car and shook hands with the young man.
小隊長殿、ご無沙汰いたしております。
Captain, it's good to see you again.
おう。今のとこはどうだ。元気にやってるか。
Yo.
今日は楽にしてくれていいぞ。
I
こちらは俺が大学時代に大変お世話になった赤坂先輩だ。
Yo, how have you been doing lately? Well, I hope. You can take it easy today. This is Kasuka senpai. Took care of me back in college.
どうも、赤坂です。今日はもう一人、大石という者とご一緒するお約束でしたが、直前に検査入院が入ってしまいまして、同行できませんでした。
Hello.
この度はお世話になりますが、
Damn it.
よろしく。
Hello, my name is Akasuka. Oishi was supposed to come today, but he had to go for a medical checkup at the last minute. Anyway, it's a pleasure to meet you.
よろしくお願いします。
It's an honor, sir.
さて、赤坂先輩、どこから回りますか。
So, Kasuka senpai, where shall we go first? His name was Mamoru Akasuka. He was a veteran detective from the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. Despite the fact that he was close to his retirement, he hadn't lost his clear instinct and sharp eyes at all. Those eyes showed the confidence he built through many risky experiences, and he had a well-built muscular body and a fearless aura. His aura's off the charts. He must have fought against many violent criminals. His connection to Inamazawa went back almost 30 years, all the way to 1978. He was in the Public Safety Division in the Metropolitan Police Department. He came to Hinamazawa to investigate the kidnapping case of the grandson of Inukai, the then Minister of Construction. There, he met Oishi, and Rika Furude. Okay, so I was like almost 100% confident in that this is the same guy that we then spent with chapter 4, but I was like, I didn't want to claim it and then be wrong about bad memory thing again. But yes, this is Akasaka from chapter 4. Again, we spent time with and through the perspective of. So yeah, interesting. There she is. The girl. Rika Furude predicted her own death. Akasaka regretted for the rest of his life that he couldn't save that little girl from her fate. He saw the news of the great Hinamazawa disaster on TV and met up again with Oishi. They pledged to uncover the mystery of both the cruel fate that fell upon the little girl and a series of mysterious deaths in Hinamazawa. Interesting we're coming back to this. I was kind of always hoping that we'd get more, but pretty much since chapter 4, unless I'm misremembering, of course, we've basically stayed connected to, you know, not this thread, basically. I don't think we really visited this much in chapters like 5 and all 6, right? Or I guess what I'm trying to say is we saw it there in 4, and it ended in an interesting way where Oishi and Akasaka were like, we got to figure out what happened. We got to solve the case, the mystery. And then I was like, oh, we're maybe like all through chapter 5, maybe at the ends of the chapters we'd get more. And we hadn't. I was like, okay, interesting. Unfortunately, Hinamazawa was sealed off for a long time. As a result, all Akasaka and Oishi could do for the past 20 years was publish the little information they'd gathered, and ask for their readers to send their tips and clues. But, recently, the seal on Hinamazawa had finally been lifted. However, they couldn't come to Hinamazawa until today due to Akasaka's busy work schedule and Oishi's poor health. In fact, Oishi was supposed to come with Akasaka, but he was called in for an emergency health checkup. The other two who came along with were Akasaka's juniors from university. One worked at the ground SDF, and the other was a subordinate. They were assigned the mission of sealing off Hinamazawa, so they were quite knowledgeable about the village. Akasaka took out a scrapbook from his bag. The corners of the scrapbook were all dented, making it look very old. Akasaka flipped through the pages, thought for a second, and let them know his first destination.
では、鬼ヶ淵沼をお願いします。
Alright. Please take me to Onigafuchi Swamp.
了解いたしました。それではご案内いたします。
No problem. Right this way, sir. The young man got on his bike and waited for the others to get back to their car. They honked at each other to signal that they were ready, and the young man led the car to the swamp. Heading through the forest, they came to an open area where the ground was covered by concrete. There wasn't even a single drop of water in sight. All the water of the swamp had been replaced by concrete. That was what Onigafuchi Swamp looked like now.
沼どころか水たまりもないな。
Huh. There isn't even a single drop of water, let alone a swamp.
大災害後のだいぶ初期に埋め立てられたと聞いています。
I was
自
told
分がここへ着任した時はすでに埋め立てられていました。
I was told that they sealed the swamp right after the disaster. This place was already encased in concrete by the time I arrived here for my mission.
ちょっと降りてみよう。
Let's go down there and take a closer look. Akasaka got out of the car and walked to the center of the concrete-filled swamp. It wasn't a parking lot or a heliport. It was just a huge, empty concrete space right in the middle of the forest.
なるほど。これがネットでよく言う UFO の着陸場というやつか。
So, this is a place people say was a landing spot for UFOs.
そんなことを言われてるんですか？
Really? I've never heard of that.
ここの写真がよくミステリー系のサイトに紹介されてるよ。
Well,
こ
that's
こで
what...
政府と宇宙人が交流してたって言うんだ。確かにこんな森の中にポカンとこんなコンクリートの空き地があれば不審に思うよな。
I'm so sorry. If I haven't mentioned this before, if you're like, what is he doing? Why does he keep reading and getting cut off and stuff? I should be better at this point because it happens, you know, but during the tips, And for some reason, I don't know why necessarily. I don't know if it's a stylistic choice or just some weird oversight or something. But the game changes because I'm reading after they say their Japanese lines, right? But also, not only that, but in the tips and these post-chapter things, for some reason the game changes up how they roll out the text. And it's kind of hard if you haven't caught it already, but like they roll out the text in a different fashion. They'll have some hesitations to it. They'll pause. They kind of like line it up. Whereas during the main chapter, it'll, roll out all the text in a uniform fashion pretty much, and then do the little arrow to let you know that you're at the end. And then it's a lot easier for someone who's reading after the Japanese to then know when the pause or the stop in the Japanese line is being said most of the time. But because they change up how they roll it out now it catches me off guard, and if I'm not paying close enough attention, what I should be doing is catching the arrow thing, but that's what keeps happening now. So apologies about that. Apologies for sloppy reading. Apologies for everything, apparently. Now, Casca says, well, that's what they write on occult websites. They say that this is a place where our government met with aliens. Can't blame them for such rumors, though, because an empty concrete space in the middle of a forest sure does look weird. Laughing. A volcanic gas erupted from the swamp in June 1983. A deadly mixture of hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide engulfed and destroyed Hinamazawa in a single night. The village was sealed off, and the SDF covered the swamp with concrete.
ネットで騒いでる連中にも連中なりの根拠があるらしい。地質学的に言ってガスの発生源を塞ぐために沼をコンクリートで固めるなんてのは何の意味もないかららしいんだ。
But the people who write those rumors on the internet actually have a point. Any geologist could tell you that covering a source of volcanic gas with concrete is absolutely useless.
なるほど。確かに活火山の火口をコンクリートで埋めたという話は聞かないですね。でもまあ、税金での無駄な工事は我が国の伝統ですから。
That's true. I've never heard of anyone trying to prevent a volcano from erupting by pouring concrete into its crater. On the other hand, our country is known for wasteful construction using the taxpayers' money. Lately, people who love things like supernatural phenomena and UFOs write on the internet about the Great Hinamazawa disaster. It's well known by now that the cause of the disaster was an eruption of deadly volcanic gas from a magma chamber. In 1986, a similar natural disaster occurred at Lake Nyos in Cameroon, Africa. So, people easily believe that such a rare natural disaster could occur anywhere on Earth, and that was what happened in Hinamazawa as well. However, a rumor about another possible explanation had begun to fly around on the internet recently. They say that the disaster was a cover-up by the government, and that it was actually a biochemical terrorist attack by aliens. Why had such a rumor begun to spread now? They claim to back up their theory with a secret document known as file number 34. Someone online named it file number 34 for descriptive purposes, but the name spread and stuck since then because it sounded like a government conspiracy. People loved it. It's unknown how or from where they obtained those documents, but they posted scans and pictures which were all ridiculous. Plus, more fake evidence was produced over time, so now even the existence of such documents are in doubt. File number 34 deserves a bit more explanation. However, since it started on the internet, truths and lies were all mixed together, and had become more like an urban legend. So, this is what is believed to mostly be true. File number 34 was a notebook written by a nurse named Mio Takano, great, who worked at a local clinic in Hinamazawa. File number 34 was most likely named after her. This woman was a researcher who studied the demon myth of Hinamazawa and tried to solve what it meant. The contents of this notebook state that she prophesied the Great Hinamazawa disaster of 1983. According to her research, a UFO crash landed in Hinamazawa a long time ago and sunk into Onigavuchi Swamp. The UFO carried parasitic bacteria from space, and they began to infect the locals. The infected villagers began to behave extremely violently, so much so that they were fit for the word demon. Mio Takano insisted that this was the explanation for the myth about demons pouring out of the swamp. An alien who survived the crash realized that the Earthlings had gone crazy, because of the bacteria he brought in, and he decided to show himself to the villagers to help them out. This is how Oishiro-sama was born. The alien was able to cure the villagers with highly advanced technology, but couldn't eradicate the bacteria completely. Since the villagers looked up to the alien as some sort of deity, the alien utilized its status to hand down specific rules to the villagers in order to stabilize the disease. The bacteria took a liking to Hinamizawa's habitat, so when the carrier of the disease left Hinamizawa, their symptoms wouldn't re-emerge. Therefore, the alien made it a rule not to leave the village. This leads to the legends of the transcendence of Onigafuji. The weird practices and miracles that the villagers performed were realized by means of the advanced technology that they received from the alien.
そういうののマニアな人たちはつくづくそういうのが好きですよね。
Ah! Those maniacs do indeed have a colorful perspective on things, don't they?
ノストラダムスの大予言だって99年にはあんなに騒いだのに7月が過ぎたら何事もなかったかのようにみんな過ごしてる。民放もあれだけ煽っておいて無責任たらありゃしない。
Do you remember Nostradamus' prophecies? People said that the world was going to end in 1999, but nothing happened in July and people acted like they didn't even know about it. Those TV shows made people as scared as they could be and then ignored the fact that it didn't happen.
でも高野美代はひなみ沢大災害を予見したらしい。それは嘘じゃない。確かにこのスクラップ帳に書いてある。
But Mio Takano did predict the Great Hinamizawa disaster. It's not a lie. Look at this page in the scrapbook.
そんなまさか。赤坂先輩、それ本当に？
You must be joking. Kasuga senpai? Is this for real? As time passed, the bacteria stabilized in human bodies and became harmless. The alien and the bacteria began to fade away from people's minds. However, the alien has lived on for hundreds of years with the protection of the three families. It still lives on as a spirit of a deity in the secret temple of the Fude Shrine. The alien manipulated the bacteria living inside of the villagers and maintained control over them for hundreds of years. The alien wanted to regain its power, started researching how to bring back the lost powers of the bacteria, etc., etc. Things get much stranger from there. People say that the disaster was actually part of the alien's plan to conquer the entire Earth by spreading the reawakened bacteria. The Japanese government has a secret division that fights against alien invasions. And they trained at Area 51 in the US, etc., etc. And they moved in to stop the invasion by sealing off the entire village, and they killed all the residents by using toxic gas.
映画でそんなのありましたね。なんて言ったっけな。
What? Hey, there's a movie that's just like that. Some black guy is the lead character. What was the title? Am I something?
この辺まで来ると俺もそろそろめちゃくちゃだなとは思う。ただ
Men in Black
このめちゃくちゃを書いた高野美代は昭和58年の6月中旬正体不明の開始を遂げる。
Yeah, I know. It's too crazy to be real. But the writer of this bunch of bull, Mio Takano, was mysteriously murdered in June 1983. Right before her death.
そしてその死の直前に自らの死を悟ったかのように村の一人の少女にこのスクラップ帳を預けて意志を託したというんだ。
She gave the scrapbook to a girl as if she knew she was going to die very soon. That girl was known as Girl A. A. Some girl who investigated the case was able to track down a girl named Rina Ryugu, so now it's known as the Rina Ryugu theory on the internet. Really good to see, again, not really a spoiler, but just, I'm going to be referencing something sort of later on in, like, Umineko, so if you're listening to this, don't want to hear this, skip, like, a minute. But not even a minute, but whatever. It's good to see that, similar to just how in Umineko, you know, later on years, it always talks about, like, you know, the theories that people from the outside try to put onto the situation and the case or whatever. Now it's funny to see that also be reflected here in Higurashi, where it's like, oh, it's all these outsiders get invested and interested in the case of what really is happening, the mystery of what's really happening. Is it aliens? Is it some weird thing? Oh, who are we going to assign blame in the family to? Who is the cause of this and all this? And it's like, just like how in Umineko we have like the whatever theories. I can't remember all these names or ever. I like how it's like, oh, this is the Rina Ryugu theory. Internet was a problem. Ryu Kishi knows the internet was a problem. Rina Ryugu inherited Mio Takano's will by means of the scrapbooks. She tried to fight against the planned invasion by holding a school hostage and demanding the local police uncover the aliens' plot. Of course, no one believed her, and they assumed she was in a state of paranoia. Back then, people assumed that Rina Ryugu took Mio Takano's delusion seriously and was motivated to commit a poorly executed crime. When she held the school hostage, Rina Ryugu told the local police that the alien was controlling the three families, and that it was plotting bioterrorism on a massive scale. And the very next day, the Great Hinamazawa disaster occurred.
まさかそりゃ偶然じゃないんですか
You've got to be kidding. Couldn't it just be a coincidence?
わからない。偶然ではないと思う連中に言わせると、その後の自衛隊による封鎖はおかしなことだらけらしい。
I don't know. According to people who believe it's not just a coincidence, there are many inconsistencies in the SDF's immediate sealing off operation.
例えば、この沼の埋め立てが一例だ。
Filling this swamp with concrete is one example.
そして埋め立てる前に、明らかに通常の地質調査とは異なる秘密の調査を行っていたとされていて、当時ここの封鎖に関わっていた自衛隊員たちがそれを何人も証言している。
Several of the SDF soldiers on duty at the time testified that some people were conducting secret investigations outside the usual geological survey before the area was closed off.
否定派はそれを単にガスの発生地なので危険に備えて立ち入りを制限していただけだと主張するんだがね。
Of course, those who think it's just coincidence say that the researchers simply took precautionary measures to keep unauthorized people out of the area.
それは多分否定派の言うのが正しいんじゃないかと思いますね。
I'd have to agree with the latter people.
他にも異常に長かった封鎖期間も疑惑の目が向けられている。近年に起こった離島の火山ガス災害の例を見てもわかるように、4、5年で立ち入り禁止を解いている。
People also question why they sealed off the village for such a long time. After its volcanic gas eruption, Miyake Island was only sealed off for 4 to 5 years.
南沢のケースは例外中の例外のケースのはずなのに、封鎖は極めて長期に及んだ。
What happened in Hinamazawa was an exceptionally rare natural disaster, yet it was sealed for over 20 years.
あのケースは島民が祈祷を強く希望したからと聞いています。南沢には帰る人がそもそもいないんだから、十分安全が確認できるまでたっぷり期間を置いただけなのでは。
I heard that the residents of Miyake Island returned to their home island faster than was originally intended because they had requested it so strongly. But in the case of Hinamazawa, there are no residents alive who wish to return in the first place. Perhaps the government took their time until they were absolutely certain that it was safe.
あと、こんな話もあるぞ。
How about this one?
南沢を封鎖していた自衛隊員たちは、定期的に血を抜かれての厳密な検査を受けていたといい、何らかの結果によって自他ともに理解できない理由で任務を解かれることがあったという。
The SDF members who were on the mission to seal off Hinamazawa had their blood samples taken periodically. Some of them were discharged from the mission without any explanation after the results came back.
それは実は細菌感染の陽性反応を見るもので、自衛隊員たちをとどまらせることによる何らかの人体実験だったと囁かれているらしい。
Some believe that they were using the members of the SDF as human test subjects to see if they got infected or not.
それはやはりガスが湧き出す危険性があっただけに、健康管理には気を使ったということでしょう。それに普通のサラリーマンだって年に一度は健康診断を受け、その時に血を抜かれてるはずです。
I think they were just checking up on the members' health conditions since they were in the area where the gas disaster occurred. Besides, normal businessmen also take annual physical checkups, and they have their blood samples taken there as well.
まあ、君の言うことももっともだと思う。
Yeah, I understand.
あと、もっと面白い話もあるぞ。南沢大災害時に火山ガスは発生していないと主張する連中がいる。
Yeah, I understand your point too, but I have another interesting theory. There are some people who believe that there was no gas emitted during the so-called Great Hinamazawa disaster.
火山ガスは発生していない？どういう意味ですか？
No volcanic gas? What does that mean?
つまり、もともと火山ガスなんか噴出してなくて、ガス災害というのが政府の嘘であると主張しているらしい。ほら、洋画の人類と UFO がコンタクトする作品でも同じ設定だったじゃないか。
Basically, what they're saying is that there was no volcanic gas and it was a sort of government cover-up. It's like in the Spielberg movie, you know, the one where humans make contact with UFOs.
それこそミステリーマニアのこじつけだと思いますね。で、その連中は何を根拠に火山ガスが発生しなかったと言っているんです？
See? That's exactly how maniacs always explain things. What kind of basis do they have to say that there was no volcanic gas emission?
封鎖解除後、ミステリーマニアがドットを押し寄せて UFO 説を補強するためにいろいろ調べたらしい。
Well, a bunch of those maniacs came to Inamazawa as soon as the seal was lifted.
で、連中の主張はこうだ。
According to them,
政府発表の火山ガス成分によるならば、硫化水素によって金属が腐食されたり、自然体系に大きなダメージが残るはずだ。
the hydrogen sulfide in the volcanic gas should have caused some corrosion to metallic objects that major damage to the wildlife.
にもかかわらず、南沢にはそういう痕跡が残っておらず、よって火山ガスが噴出したとは到底思えないとかなんとか言ってる。
However, they found no such signs of disruption, which led them to claim that there was no volcanic gas to begin with.
もっとも、あれから20年も放置された村なんだ。そんな痕跡を発見できたかどうかは疑わしいな。
But this village was abandoned for 20 years. I doubt that they could find anything anyway.
やはりつくづくインターネットというのは信用できませんね。で、まさか赤坂先輩はその怪しげな話を信じてるわけですか？
Well, that's the thing with the internet. Can't believe everything you read on it. Akasuka senpai, please don't tell me you're buying these stories.
最初は信じなかったが、最近は俺もわからない。何割かは真実が含まれているかもしれないと思うようになっている。
At first, I didn't, but lately, I begin to think that there might be some truth to them.
赤坂先輩ともあろうお方が UFO 話を信じるんですか？
You believe in UFOs? Oh, come on.
このスクラップ帳、これが
Well,
本物の34号文書だとしたら？
what if the scrapbook is the real file number 34?
え？
Huh?
昭和58年6月25日に南沢営林署に人質を取って籠城した竜宮レイナが所持していた正真正銘本物の34号文書だ。
This scrapbook is the one that Rina Ryugu possessed when she took the school hostage on June 25th, 1983.
南沢大災害の混乱で長いこと行方不明だったが、近年大石さんの古い友人が県警の保存庫で発見したらしい。
It was assumed to be lost during the confusion of the disaster, but Oishi-san's old friend was able to locate it in evidence storage at the prefectural police headquarters. Back then, Oishi thought Rina Ryugu was delusional, but after reading this again after the Great Hinamazawa disaster, some of the contents seemed to hold vital clues. It's not the alien part that he was interested in, but her theory that an endemic disease of parasitic microbes in Hinamazawa was responsible for the curse of Oishiro-sama. Of course, there's no proof that such microbes existed, so it still remains at a theoretical level.
大石さんの仮説なんだが、御三家が過去の信仰心を村に取り戻すために大昔の毒性の強い病原体を研究していたのは本当じゃないかって言うんだ。南沢大災害は実はその結果の失敗じゃないかってな。
Oishi-san says that the three families might have been researching how to bring back the original deadlier microbe in order to revive the religious devotion the villagers used to have. The Great Hinamazawa disaster could be an experiment that went wrong. This theory is also based on the theories and myths he found on the internet. The village clinic's chief doctor died mysteriously right before the Great Hinamazawa disaster. A girl, Rika Furude, was brutally murdered on the night Rina Ryugu took the school hostage. There could have been an underground research lab beneath the village clinic, and Dr. Irie could have been forced to do microbiology research, but he couldn't live with his own sins and committed suicide. Rika Furude could have been brutally murdered and sacrificed for some sort of ritual ceremony in the name of Oshiro-sama's revival. However, their experiment went wrong. Instead of the microbes being parasitic in the villagers, they became a killer virus, and they exterminated the entire village in one night.
ただのガス災害じゃないことは明白なんだ。ガスが湧く直前に一人の少女が細菌テロを予告し、数人の村人が開始を遂げている。
It's obvious that it wasn't a simple gas disaster. Cannot ignore the fact that one girl predicted a bioterrorist attack right before the disaster, and that several villagers died mysteriously.
それをスクラップ帳にまとめた高野美代本人も含めてね。
Including Mio
Taka。偶然の予見不可能な災害だとするには、どうも腑に落ちない要素が少なくない。この34号文章を読めば、それらは明らかにはっきりしてくる。
Including Mio Takano herself, who wrote about all that in the scrapbook. It doesn't sound right to say that the Great Hinamazawa disaster was an unprecedented and coincidental natural disaster. When you read this file number 34, it's obvious.
じゃあ、ひなみざわ大災害は自然災害ではなく、細菌テロ。
So, you're saying that the Great Hinamazawa disaster wasn't a rare natural disaster, but that it was in fact an act of bioterrorism by some cultists? In the modern era, everyone in Japan knows about the shocking incident where a doomsday cult created nerve gas, sarin, and unleashed it for the purposes of mass murder. But in the 80s, the idea of a single cult being able to carry out such an act of terrorism didn't even cross our minds.
その後の自衛隊の長い封鎖は、その殺人ウイルスを調査するためではないかと囁かれているんだが、すっきりしないな。
Some also whisper that the SDF kept the area sealed for so long so they could study some lethal virus, but I'm not convinced.
UFO に乗った宇宙人がって話よりは、カルト集団がって方が近年は信憑性がありますからね。
At least this story sounds more convincing than the one with aliens and UFOs. The idea of cultists and domestic terrorism sounded more rational.
本当に UFO が墜落した可能性もあるかもしれないな。竜宮レイナが人質籠城時に出した要求の筆頭は、鬼ヶ淵沼の底には墜落した UFO の残骸があるから引き上げろというものだったらしい。
Maybe there really was an UFO that crash landed. When Rina Ryugu took the school hostage, one of her demands to the police was to have them pull out the wreckage of the UFO from the Onigafuchi swamp.
バカバカしい。
That's ridiculous.
それがバカバカしいか調べたくても、見ろ。沼はコンクリートで数メートルの厚さで固められ、確かめる術もない。地質学的には、ガスを防ぐ効果は何も期待できないはずのバカバカしい工事によってだ。
Well, if I wanted to make sure it's ridiculous or not, look at it. Swamp is filled with concrete several meters thick, and there's no way we can check. This is all because of that ridiculous construction that doesn't even do anything to prevent the volcanic gas.
赤坂先輩がそれを立証するには、あとはここの住民の生き残りを見つけて、体内からその特殊な病原体ってやつを見つけ出すほかないんじゃないですか。
Well then, the only way to prove Akasaka Senpai's theory would be to find a survivor of Hinamazawa and try to find that microbe in him or her.
それも致命的だ。ひなみ沢大災害後のひなみ沢出身者に対する魔女狩りのせいで、今や出身者の存在は不明だ。彼らは名乗りなどあげまい。
Sadly, it's almost impossible. After the Great Hinamazawa disaster, some survivors were subject to a witch hunt. So, if there are any survivors, they won't tell you that they're from this area. God, could you imagine if this goes... So we know, I could be 1,000,000% wrong, but I'm working under the operation and the theory, and what seems to be presented in the story and as evidence is that Mio Takano did not die. It was staged. She faked her death. She fled. Could you... Is this story going to go to a thing, especially here, where they're like, God, we got to find someone originally from there. If they somehow can find Takano out there in the wild, where would she be? What is she doing? Do we then get to learn what her whole motive is? I mean, Takano. I don't know. I just made me thought of that, especially with this line, because I'm like, Takano allegedly, in theory, is out there somewhere, unless she died sometime in between. But like, she would have escaped. She didn't, most likely, almost for sure, didn't die that night that people think she did. With the evidence that's been given to us. And then we saw that she was like leaving. She was like intentionally like deucing out. Did I read this line? So, even if there are any survivors, they won't tell you that they're from this area. Right after the disaster, some people who were from Hinamazawa started displaying erratic behavior. When they started dying mysteriously and committing suicide in strange ways, people got scared of them and chased them out of their neighborhoods. The government was practically useless in protecting their privacy at the time, so the former residents of Hinamazawa lied about where they were from and have kept it that way since.
じゃあ、お手上げじゃないですか。
In that case, it's a dead end.
それでも諦めないのが刑事魂ってもんだよ。あれが自然災害じゃなかったっていう状況証拠はいくらでもあるんだ。何か一つの具体的証拠が見つかれば、芋づる式に全てを白日の下にさらせるかもしれない。
But it's my duty as a cop to keep trying. There's enough circumstantial evidence to say that the Great Hinamazawa disaster wasn't a natural one. If I could grab a hold of one piece of concrete proof, I think I could start reeling in the truth behind all of this.
まあ、あれから20年経過してますからね。真相はあまりに遠い闇の中かもしれません。
Yeah, but it's been over 20 years. Truth might be lying somewhere very deep in the darkness.
そうだな。21世紀の今頃になってここを訪れても何も分かりはしないのかもな。
That's true. I might not find any answers. It's already the 21st century. What happened in Hinamazawa in June 1983? The only factual evidence that I had was that Mio Takano mysteriously died and left her scrapbook predicting a bioterrorist attack. A young girl took a school hostage to make people listen to this prediction, but no one took it seriously. The chief doctor of the village clinic committed suicide. People believe that a little girl, Rika Furude, was a reincarnation of Oji Shirosama, and she was brutally murdered. What was the truth behind the scrapbook? Was it written to reveal a huge conspiracy? Or was it just a bunch of delusions written by an occult maniac? If the contents of the scrapbook were true, the disaster could have been avoided if we had heeded the warnings of one girl. If they weren't true, then who created the disaster to follow the scenario of the scrapbook? After the sarin nerve gas incident, the words mind control came into the spotlight. In contrast to brainwashing, which can easily force a person to commit certain acts in the short term, mind control takes a long time to gradually make a person believe that what he or she must do is the right thing to do, and to act upon it as if it was his or her own idea. It's a form of character alteration, which is far more serious than brainwashing. The cult behind the sarin gas incident introduced fear and anxiety into its members through its revelations of doomsday. At the same time, they ordered them to do certain things as means of salvation, and had them do so voluntarily. The formula was quite similar to how Rina Ryugu became a puppet of file number 34. So, does that mean that Rina Ryugu was mind-controlled by someone? Does that mean that the cult that mind-controlled her tried to cause the end of the world in order to increase the credibility of their teachings, just like the other cult did? Would that make file number 34 some sort of religious textbook for them? When I lose my grip on what's true and what's not, it sometimes makes me feel that someone might be laughing in amusement at this disaster. The scrapbook was like a script. It was a script for a tragedy that takes the lives of thousands of villagers in one night. It was a script for demons who laugh at the loss of human life. Someone wrote the script. Someone performed it. Someone watched the show and laughed. Damn it. What the hell happened in Yamazawa in June 1983? What happened? I'm asking the same questions. Akaska. I ask myself that as well. Staff room? Staff room. Let's go. Hello. My name is Ryukishi07. I hope you enjoyed playing Higurashi When They Cry. How? Chapter 6, Sumi Horoboshi. There are several themes I wanted to write in this chapter, but I'd like to talk about one of them here. Please do, Ryukishi. It's about the denial of murder. This is something I had to write sooner or later, since this is a novel about serial murders. There are two means that youngsters in particular use these days to solve problems, which are murder and suicide. When we feel stress, we choose to either get rid of the source of the stress or to get away from it. Let's say you're bullied by a kid at school. You have two ways to solve the problem. You choose either to get rid of the kid from your current environment or to get away from the environment itself. Usually, bullies are stronger and have their underlings, so you don't stand a chance alone to get rid of them. It's also not easy to switch classes or to quit school, so you can't easily get away from the situation. As a result, the situation gets worse day by day, and your stress urges you to solve the problem immediately. And you come up with murder or suicide as easy solutions. So much murdering. If suicide is considered defeat, you'd want to consider murder. I feel like there are many people who think that way. Damn, this is kind of deep. Not necessarily deep. This is kind of an interesting topic by Ryukishi to put here. However, if you actually committed a murder, it wouldn't be easy to pay for the sin. I believe murderers know that well, too. But you really hate the bully who pushed you to the limit where you have no choice but to kill him. So, with a determination that turns your entire life upside down, you commit murder. But if you have such strong determination, there have to be more ways to take that opting for murder, which should be the last resort. You can talk to your friends. If that doesn't work, you can talk to your family. If that doesn't work, you can talk to your teacher. If that doesn't work, then what? There have to be more ways. If you have the determination to give up on your life by committing murder, there have to be more ways. Our modern era is better than any era before it. There are many hotlines that you can call to talk to someone. Even if you don't have any friends or family, there are many places you can go for help. Damn, fucking Ryukishi, being a good person. The people who answer the phone aren't amateurs. They're volunteers, but they're also veterans who have worked as social workers or juvenile counselors for a long time. I can assure you that they have more social experience and passion than your parents do. People who work to help people for free can't be bad people. If you feel like you have no choice but to kill the bully or commit suicide, please try to call those hotlines. People who think it's useless to talk to others usually haven't really talked to anyone. Have the courage to call. There will be somebody you can completely rely on at the other end of the line. Don't keep it to yourself. Talk to somebody. Ryukishi07 wrote such a long story just to tell you this. He must be a very poor writer. That's good. So, Ryukishi07 wants to talk to you all, rather than worrying all by himself. How can I write even more entertaining stories? Bitter laugh. 7th expansion, Ryukishi07. I gotta say, I do like these. They're different, obviously different feelings, but this is a lot better than what ended up the cast review, whatever. These are tighter little experiences, and also just nice little, like, you know, note there at the end when you finish a chapter. Cool. Look at that. And now the benefit of us just spending the Tuesday doing this, I don't feel like we need to wait a whole week basically to do the next part. So I would assume I will start, you know, unless obviously something that takes me away from stream happens. Saturday night should be start of chapter 7. What the hell are we gonna get? What the hell are we gonna get? Who knows? It could be anything at this point. Like I said, I could put theories out and feel like I'm making a lot of sense. Like I said, to me, in my head, a Rika chapter, an actual Rika focused chapter, somehow makes a lot more sense. We've gotten little bits and bobs, especially, which makes me think of it even more possible. We've gotten little tastes of, like, from Rika's perspective, where she's clearly hemming and hawing over certain things. We know she's an important character and an important figure into what is the happenings of Hinamizawa, both in the normal sense and also the cyclical, apparently timeline nature of things that are happening. She's definitely has the capacity to see the things happening. So to me, it just makes too much sense to have a Rika chapter 7 and then like some kind of concluding chapter 8 in my head. Unless they really want to keep Rika and her situation, whatever it is, to be like a final thing, or to have it be and continue to be and stay kind of a mysterious, nebulous situation. Because I could also, maybe, depending, frustratingly or maybe not frustratingly if it's pulled off well, but I could see her whole deal. Maybe we don't get like the most clean, satisfying conclusion or answer to exactly what her deal is, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I'm excited to see. We won't have to wait long. Like I said, we'll start in Saturday night. Because I know I won't be streaming at all during the day on Saturday, so it'll just be Saturday night. We'll start in on chapter 7. It won't be long. Let me check something. Yeah, I'll do a BRB. I'll boot up Cyberpunk. We'll play like maybe not even an hour, maybe just an hour at max. We'll just do a couple things in Cyberpunk just to goof off. So if you don't want that, so long. Have a nice night. We'll bring more Higurashi Saturday. I will do the quickest of BRBs. I'm gonna get some water, and I'll have Cyberpunk booted up. We'll just goof around for an hour. Probably not even hit much story stuff. We'll probably just do some side things, and then we'll call it a night. But see you for chapter 7, especially you VOD watchers. Get excited for chapter 7. Maybe, I don't know. Is chapter 7 good? Who knows? Who can say? Alright, I'll be right back. Give me just a bit of time here.